Thank you so much for joining. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the OpenBNG public webinar. The operators have got some great content to share with you today. And in case you miss anything, we'll be providing a link to the slides for you all later. There is a chat facility to the right of your screens, and please raise any comments or questions there as we go along. Before we get started, let's meet the operators. From BT, we have Paul Gunning.
Hello, Paul Gunning, BT. Nice to be here today. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Paul. From Deutsche Telekom, Mario Kind.
Yeah, hello. Thanks, Andy. Nice to be here as well.
Thanks, Mario. From Telefonica, Rafa Lopez.
Hello, Andy. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here.
Hi, Rafa. From Telecom Italia, Rosaria Persico.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Rosaria. And from Vodafone, we have Ayman Hamza.
Hi, Andy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me be in this event. Thank you.
I'm very happy to have you. Thank you. Now, here's a quick overview of what we're going to be talking to you about today. So first up, for those of you who are new to the project, we're going to start with Mario and Raphael, who will be explaining some of the background to the OpenBNG project. After that, we'll be hearing from Paul, Rosaria, and Ayman, who will be talking us through some of the key technical components of the OpenBNG solution. After that, we'll move to a panel discussion, where the operators will be sharing more information about the current status of the project, as well as their insights into what they're hoping to see from the different OpenBNG solutions. And finally, we'll wrap up with a quick overview of what the rest of the year looks like for the OpenBNG project. So to start us off, here's Mario. Mario will be talking us through the challenges in today's BNG ecosystem and why OpenBNG is so important for the telecoms industry. Over to you, Mario.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy, and let me tell you some background on our challenges that we currently have, and that finally leads us to the idea to introduce the OpenBNG. So first and for all, the BNG is the one and only critical, no, not the one, but is the critical element in the fixed network. It is the link between the access networks and customers and the core networks and to the internet. So this is having as from functionality point of view, very important things to do. First of all, it has to create the services for the customers, but also it has to comply with regulatory requirements like providing wholesale access to other operators. Unfortunately, the big challenge lies here in that most of the BNGs are standardized to some extent, but all have also some operator specifics and legacy implementations in place of important processes or OSS and BSS interfaces. And if not done right, this complexity is very challenging for us and drives also to the change. But if done right, and it's a flexible element, it's really the one element where we could drive our future. And this leads us also already to the second point, the impact on the telecoms industry of the IT and hyperscaler industry. We are very much looking also there and see that hyperscalers are more and more impacting our elements, and in terms of designs, in terms of technologies which emerge. And we are trying to adapt here and try to use major breakthroughs like simplifying things, like disaggregating things into smaller microservice-based architectures and bundle software and hardware in the most flexible way. This also means that we have to adopt our community work beyond these our classical standardization bodies and adapt in a way that we could work and leverage also the advantages of the hyperscalers. from this cost part, we are also we are under pressure and see into the future with the emergence of new services. These are, for example, new mobile backhaul services required for O-RAN. These are all the support of the SASE for remote workers and new type of VPNs, or be it the SD-WAN type of services. In any case, these services need always also some parts in the BNG or part of a BNG, and we need to extend here with the flexibility to also use these services here. On the other side, the operations part is changing, and we are embracing more and more the cloud principles here, and we want to also look into this and change into the principles of open interfaces, of automation, of disaggregation, and breaking big software monoliths as BNGs are today into smaller flexible elements to only use and take software that we need and what we want need on these locations and what we have to have. And on the other side, also to enable new players with new ideas and services on our platforms. And beside that, we are also challenged in developing these skills on our operations team to keep track with all the different developments. Last but not least, also our BNG ecosystem is changing and is another challenge. We are seeing over the past years a reduction of choice of BNG vendors, be it on commercial reasons, like the big consolidation in Europe, or be it these political uncertainties which are currently around and which make at least some headaches in selecting the right vendor, which is future-proof. As said, BNG is a critical element in our fixed networks, and we don't want to change it and cannot change it quite frequently. As said, we are also facing the over-the-top services like SD-WAN, and we have to look into innovative services to enable, like SASE, for example. And what we already learned in this is, if we want to enable new players here and let them enter into the BNG world, we need some transparency with requirements in order to enable them to do to integrate them into our BNGs. Now, these are the big challenges that we are currently facing inside the fixed broadband ecosystem, and the idea how we can overcome them will be presented now from Rafael.
Okay, thank you, Mario. Okay, before we get to the technical details, let me tell you how we have been working. Well, first of all, this has been a collaboration effort where TIP has played a key role by providing a neutral forum where for us to discuss our experiences and challenges with the BNG. This has allowed us to openly discuss anything that is BNG related and come to a well-aligned group consensus that has enabled us to avoid ending up with multiple disparate decisions and solutions. But there has been collaboration not only among us operators, we have also been able to work directly with hardware, software, and silicon vendors to ensure that our requirements are realistic and are well aligned with the real world. Because that's another key point of our approach, which has been being pragmatic. We have worked very hard to develop a set of requirements that are both achievable, but at the same time meet all of our use cases without relinquishing important features like can be high availability or carrier grade status. And since the complexity of the BNG functions is very high, we have embraced a modular approach where we have been specifying different packages so that some of those packages can be shared across several use cases, but there are other packages that are very well aligned with a specific use case. By means of this use case centric approach, what we have been able is to cut out a lot of the legacy and the long tail of just in case features that many times populate our regular RFQ processes So this has resulted in a leaner, more achievable and more easily deployable BNG function, because in the end, what this is all about is about taking things to action. So we are focused on driving significant change to the ecosystem. And right now we already have the requirements ready, but most important of all is that we are committed to seeing the deployment of these solutions. And with this TIP OpenBNG initiative, we are providing a reference to the industry for the implementation, because these requirements are coming from the operators in the TIP OpenBNG community group. But of course, valuable work from previous valuable work done by other standards bodies and communities, like can be the OCP, the Broadband Forum, or the ONF, of course, can find a place in a TIP OpenBNG implementation and have already influenced its implementation. So now I will let Rosaria from Telecom Italia to introduce you to what is OpenBNG.
Thanks, Rafael. So today there will be no enough time to touch all the aspects of OpenBNG, but we want to call your attention to some pillars of this solution. One of these pillars is disaggregation. Disaggregating BNG means many things, but for us as TIP operators is two main concepts inside, I would say. The first one is related to the possibility to decouple the hardware from the software. And this will allow the creation of a new and larger ecosystem of software and hardware suppliers. So with more choice in the market, we expect there will be more commercial competition, of course, but we also hope to see more innovative solutions. Disaggregation in this sense will open up for more innovative vendors, so a large number of innovative vendors, more innovation, which in turn allow us to innovate more quickly as operators. We also believe that time is mature for hardware based on merchant silicon. We think that the hardware will be required, that you will see in our specs, the hardware will be required to offer some toolkits to software developers to program their features. This is a condition for having multiple software running on the same hardware and break the monolithic approach that has dominated so far within the BNG ecosystem. The second concept for having the second concept behind the disaggregation of BNG is related to control and user plane separation. This is a proposition that some of the TIP operators are also pursuing and pushing in the relevant standard 4 that Rafael was mentioning before. With CAPS, we expect to implement a geographical separation of user plane and control plane with the centralization of the control plane and possibly also the cloudification of the control plane. While for user plane, we expect solutions that can be tailored to the site where the user plane itself is deployed. And therefore, we expect less challenging and less expensive user planes. Another key point of CAPS is the possibility to have control plane independently scale from user plane, which is another concept that will simplify the cost, will lower the cost. But the CAPS is pursued because it's expected to bring optimization in network resources, simplifications in the operations, and also innovative redundancy solutions. For example, solutions that are less expensive than traditional ones and possibly more effective. So we believe these two concepts of disaggregation for BNG can be pursued singularly or all together. Mainly, this depends on the objectives of the operators, on the role that the operator wants to give to the node, on the starting network architecture, on the target network architecture. But surely we believe that we have done a great job in reconciliating the two concepts of disaggregating, the one associated with the open hardware and the one associated with the CAPS. These two concepts that in the past somehow appeared to diverge. And with that, I will hand over to Paul.
Thank you, Rosario. So Rosario has just spoken about disaggregation, and we collectively believe that this goes hand in hand with openness and the need for different solution components to be highly standardized, interoperable, and solvable. So collectively in OpenBNG, we're working to make sure that our use cases are well aligned with open and standard-based APIs that give us the latitude to mix and match what best suits our particular requirements. I think as telcos, we're all facing into the operational complexities of deploying and maintaining an open and disaggregated technologies. And part of that is aligning with other TIP initiatives. So if I call out two in particular, we're working with the OOPT MUST group, looking at how we can build a more programmable and automated BNG using modern open SDN interfaces and open APIs. And secondly, we are also embracing the TIP Greenlight Zero Touch Provisioning solution, which we think will make it easier for us all to commission devices as well as to manage the different hardware, software combinations in the field when it's deployed. These we anticipate will reduce our operational expenditure. So with an open and disaggregated BNG, we think we'll have the flexibility to choose which solutions we deploy and to swap out for a different or alternative solution as we want when we want it. So we've spoken about disaggregation already with Rosario just a moment ago. I've just spoken about the ideas of the open APIs, our collective motivation across us all to reduce operational costs, the ability to swap in, swap out the components. So I think I've outlined the motivation behind openness, but disaggregation, as explained by Rosario, openness, as I've explained, now naturally lead on to modularity. So if I can, I'd like to hand over to Eamon at Vodafone, who will outline this important area. Eamon.
Thank you, Andy, for giving me the opportunity to start explaining my part, which is modularity. When we say modularity for OpenBNG, we mean by that two things. Modular software and modular hardware. What does modular software means? It means that I have the operating system running on the OpenBNG platform, running in different software packages. Like I have the MPLS Provider Edge PE software package separate from the routing software package, which is running on the same platform of OpenBNG. And I have another software package, which is the subscriber management BNG software package. And I could have other software packages as well in the future, like PCRF, which is the policy software package, and another package like security software package, and other software packages as well in the future. This depends on the need and the technical requirement for the operator. So the operator can pick and choose whatever features, software features that he wants to run on the operating system of the OpenBNG platform. And this is the beauty and the advantage of the modularity for the software. What I mean by hardware modularity or modular hardware is that I can have multiple different vendors in terms of hardware vendors running on the same chassis component. This is something we will consider in the future. So you could have a vendor X that is giving you the chassis component and other multiple vendors for different hardware modules running on the same chassis, chassis component from a single vendor. But as I said, this could be considered in the future, not in the short term. But however, for the short term, we are considering hardware modularity from a different perspective, which is running multiple vendors of OpenBNG platforms in the same cluster, for example, for giving redundancy for the deployment. Also, the OpenBNG modularity for the hardware and software will facilitate the deployment of multiple deployment scenarios like distributed deployment, reduced distribution deployment scenario, centralized deployment scenario, and virtualized deployment scenario for the OpenBNG, which we are also considering in the future.
Brilliant. Thanks, Simon, and thanks to the rest of the team as well. So now we've heard about the big picture of OpenBNG. Let's go into a little bit more detail with some personal insights from each of the operators. Now, to start off, we heard earlier from Mario about the industry need for OpenBNG solutions. So to start us off, I just wanted to go around the table and to ask each of you to share your individual motivations for participating in the project. Mario, let's start with you. Mario, you're on mute.
Unfortunately, after more than 1 year at home office, oh no. Well, there are two motivations. So my personal one is I have been always interested in evolution of a BNG, in making it better and improving it. That is one thing, and I see that we can. There are new features required, new services coming up. The other one is really that we are running the Access 4.0 project in Deutsche Telekom, and we really need new suppliers. We want to have new suppliers. We want to have an ecosystem where we have choice, and the consolidation happening in the past years was a bit too much. Also, because this political uncertainty is one of the big things that is driving us. But we are really into all the ideas behind OpenBNG, and one of the key things is that we want to have choice on software, hardware, and even chipset level.
Thanks, Mario. Let's hear from Paul.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Andy. I think it's really down to the TIP, provides, this unique, I suppose, environment for us, competitors really, at the product and service level to collaborate at a technical level, and to work through our individual, I suppose, deployments. So BRAS, BNG, it's been around for nearly 2 decades now, but we all have our own little way of implementing it and deploying it, and it's really great that we can all come together and collectively come to a kind of a consensus that we can then give to the vendors, both the hardware vendors and open hardware vendors, but also to the software vendors as well, to say, this is what we're collectively looking at. It's probably a little bit easier for you now because you're getting a consensus view across the whole of the industry. So I think it's just been absolutely brilliant. And BT's been in TIP since 2016. We've collaborated with the TIACs, the And it's just been a terrific process that I've enjoyed very much.
That's great, Paul. Thank you. Ivan, how about you?
Well, as a Vodafone, we see a very good benefit or benefits, actually, operational benefits from mixing and matching between software and hardware. So we can, as I said, while I explained the modularity of the OpenBNG, we could pick and choose whatever software license or software package that has the feature that we want to deploy, and deploy it on whatever hardware or from whatever vendor that that meets the technical requirements and the scalability and features that we need to deploy on that hardware. So with that, we can reduce the cost of deployment. We can open innovation for multiple vendors. Also, we can reduce the footprint inside the data center. For example, rather than deploying multiple vendors from operational point of view as a cost, we can deploy a single chassis from one vendor that we can choose, and multiple line modules in that chassis from that vendor, rather than deploying multiple vendors for multiple chassis in order to deploy some features that we need in our network. So that means we can reduce cost. Also, the mix and match of the software and modularity from the operational point of view could give us the availability, or could we give the vendor, actually, not the operator, but the vendor, an ease of deploying any bug fix inside the network. Because when we have any bugs or when we have any malfunctioning in a certain feature, that module or that software package will be targeted with that fix only, giving the opportunity for other modules, software modules, to be functioning precisely and in a stable way, without affecting the functionality and the performance of the network. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Simon. So, Rafa, talk to us about Telefonica and OpenBNG.
Well, it's difficult to add something original to the reasonings of my colleagues, the flexibility, maximizing the choice, reducing the operational costs. For sure, all of that is also in our reasoning behind OpenBNG. But you may already know that we have started a journey to disaggregation, first with the DCSG elements. And so for us, the BNG, the OpenBNG, is the next logical step, because the impact that function has in our service offering. So because of its richness of features and its subscriber awareness, make it an ideal candidate for it to be disaggregated, because of all of the reasons that already my colleagues have mentioned. So for sure, for us, the OpenBNG is definitely the next step, the next logical step in our disaggregation journey.
Thanks, Rafael. And last but definitely not least, Rosario, do you have anything to add based on the?
Yeah, very difficult to add something. I'm in the worst position to add something, as I'm the last one. I feel that our motivation for joining a TIP initiative is similar to what BT Paul was explaining. If you find a way to highlighting commonalities among operators, you can drive the industry. You can let the implementers feel more confident about their effort and about their investment and it's easier to move the industry because the players are more confident that their investment will be repaid. So I think it's very important to make this this effort in finding commonalities among us. I think it's especially in this moment of big transformation, and there is a lot of uncertainties that dominates in the industry, and so giving some guidelines to suppliers is very important for them, in my opinion.
Thanks, Rosario. Appreciate the answer, and thanks to everybody as well. I think we've got a full spectrum and diversity of different motivations. I think it's really good to hear you all speak to them. So work on OpenBNG began in 2020, and the initiative's been running for over a year now. So I was wondering, maybe Mario, if you could talk us through some of the things that over the last year that you and the operators on the call have been working on.
Yeah, we are really working already more than 1 year on this. I really have to muse about where to start. So I think very important things have been that we started with 3 operators, and we are now extending to 5 with operations in some dozen countries all over the world. We are providing really services to tens of millions of customers, and that is a great achievement. But we are now at 5, and we are really open to that for others to join this initiative and to bring in also their expertise and requirements here. The other thing is really to align among us on what to achieve, on what is our starting point, and to agree on things, which ended up in this high level design specification that is available since well, yeah, close to a year or something. And we updated that one because the other thing that we really extensively did was speaking with the industry, speaking with the vendors, and asking them for feedback. What do you think? What is important for you? What do you need to know to make good decisions, to see where we go? And therefore we updated the high level design document just a week or 2 weeks ago or something. Oh, it's really a long year. And now what the important thing is to make the next step, and that's going forward, and to really close in on the requirements, and to finally really put it together that it's available as a real first version.
Fantastic. So it sounds like there's a lot of work gone in to get those requirements right.
Oh yeah, and not to forget that besides working on the tip OpenBNG, we are also working on other things in our companies. And just one more point. Sorry, I would like to add one more point. OpenBNG is really something that we want to have for deployment, that we want and what we need. And as I mentioned in Deutsche Telekom, we are running the Access 4.0 program, and we have already the first partially OpenBNG compliant deployment since December, with the first live customer on a disaggregated softwareized OpenBNG, close to OpenBNG already. So this is also a great achievement where I've been able to help.
It's fantastic, and I think it's so good to see, actual, not just kind of sitting and thinking about what it is, but actually being able to take it through to deployment as well. I think that's a major step. I guess that you mentioned that that there's a new high-level requirements document, and I think there was a version that was released last year and a version that was released last week. So for those people who haven't had the chance to review and haven't spent the last 6 months working on it, for those people who haven't participated in that process, Rosaria, perhaps could you talk us through some of the changes, the updates that you've made? What's new in OpenBNG?
Yeah, many things. We have rationalized many areas. For example, we have clarified what is required for a service-only BNG versus what is required for a full functionalities BNG. We have clarified the various options for combining boxes, so standalone BNG, clustered BNG, leaf and spine based BNG. And this is all through the document. This is something that impacts the entire document. On the other hand, we have included the feedback. We have taken into account the feedback that we have received from the industry, because we have met many vendors early this year, just because we wanted to make our high-level requirement more realistic, like Rafa was mentioning before. So we have reviewed, to be more specific, we have reviewed the hardware service configurations in terms, for example, fan in, fan out. We have reviewed the number of required subscribed per box, the hierarchical QoS requirement. So there are many aspects that have been influenced by the feedback received from the industry. And finally, in this revision, we have included the CAPS as an implementation option, hoping to give a message of consistency to the industry, and hoping to accelerate the availability in the market of this important enabler for BNG as well. I think those, at least to my mind, those are the main aspects. Maybe there are many others that, of course, curious people can find out themselves.
Absolutely, I think there's many updates,
Yeah.
but I think we have requirements now. They're well aligned. We know that they're supportable. I think it's great to see. And now that those requirements are finalized, I guess there's still a lot of work ahead, right? Getting from where we are to deployment doesn't happen overnight. So, Paul, what comes next?
Well, I suppose what comes next is, after the high-level document has been released, they were going to go into a sort of a more detailed, I suppose, collective RFI. So we'll be encouraging, response from both network operating system vendors, but hardware vendors, and throughout the industry, to come and see the sort of thoughts that we have and see if they can address it with the products and solutions that they already have. So I think that's our next immediate step, and hopefully over the summer, towards as we move into the autumn, we'll have a chance to reflect on the RFI responses, and then perhaps mid-autumn we'll be able to maybe announce how we have progressed.
Fantastic. And I think we have some more updates as well, coming a little bit later about what to expect. Mm-hmm. And I guess after we've looked at what's in the industry, and the suppliers have indicated where their solutions are at, that's when in TIP we would normally start to take things into the lab. We do testing, we do validation. Ayman, what are you looking to? What do you think test and validation is going to look like for OpenBNG? What are you hoping to take from the test and validation activities?
Well, the TIP test and validation process should allow the vendors to self-certify their OpenBNG deployment solutions. And this going to help both the operators and the vendors to bring these solutions to deployment much quicker, because it will be badged and tagged with TIP as a certified solution. So ultimately, the objective is to get as many solutions as possible certified. And this means the vendors can get their solutions listed on the TIP exchange. and that allow all the TIP members to see which solutions has been certified, and from those list of certified solutions, which solution will best fit their technical and business requirements.
Fantastic. So a busy year ahead for everybody. And it's exciting to think that we'll have solutions in the lab later this year, actual sort of OpenBNG compliant solutions later this year. So Rafa, looking forward sort of on from requirements and RFIs, what happens after that?
Well, ultimately, what we want to see coming out of this OpenBNG initiative is this to lead to deployments. We are not here for the academic exercise. And in fact, we have liked very much the pragmatic approach that we have taken what regards to the specification, because we are very pragmatic. And so we are in constant analysis of how can we evolve our legacy networks, bearing in mind that the innovation of today is the legacy of tomorrow. So I hope that someday we can refer to OpenBNG as the legacy that will signal a success in our endeavor. So we're in constant analysis of this transition from our legacy networks. And we feel that right now there are some realistic options to consider the OpenBNG as part of this transition strategy. We also think that SDN will play a very big part in this transition. And it's true that there's a lot of work still to be done as regards SDN as an industry, but we also feel that TIP is the best place to get this work done. So we hope to keep working here in TIP, well, in the OpenBNG, of course, and also in the MAST initiative, which is taking this programmability of the network nodes to its next level.
So big plans then this year, next year, and beyond. So I think, Paul, you said earlier that there's going to be an RFI coming very soon.
Yes.
So I thought to close up the discussion, let's hear from each of you. What are the things that you're most excited to see from that RFI? What's the ideal response that you'll see from suppliers and the ecosystem? Let's go around the table again. But Paul, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, I focus particularly on, openness and the need for open, standardized, interoperable APIs. I would like to see solutions that come both at the hardware level with open northbound interfaces. I'd like to see also the same thing applying southbound from the network operating system. And above the network operating system, again, I'd like to see open northbound interfaces. I think that's really very, very important because it allows us the ability and the latitude to move things around, to encourage actually, new entrants to come into the market, welcome new entrants and reduce the barrier to entry. That's particularly what I'm after.
Thanks, Paul. And over to you, Rosario. Rosario, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, we hope to see solid roadmaps because we understand that this is a disruptive moment. There is a big transformation, not only in the BNG industry, but in many network segments. Disaggregating is transforming our industry, not only our networks. But at the same time, we understand that there are use cases that have not fully explored, that we haven't fully explored, and we believe that, for example, wireless wireline convergence, something that we believe cannot be a reality tomorrow. But at the same time, we hope to see behind the current transformation, then the solution will develop these kind of features over time. So we do not want everything immediately, but we want solid roadmaps and use case address it over time.
So OpenBNG, not just for today, but for tomorrow and next year.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Mario, what about yourself and DT?
Well, I hope it's not only for tomorrow. It's hopefully also for a much longer period of time. So at least something like a 2030 time frame or so. That's where they have to stand, and that's what I really would love to see when we have completed the RFI, we have all the proposals, and then let's get back to the lab and power them up and see them blinking and play around if the ideas of disaggregation, for example, works. But it would be great to see if we could really deploy different software vendors on different hardwares. I think that is really something which is, as also Rosario said, a turning point and really an enabler for a strategy into the future, which is relying more and more on software, and which is very much embraced by our company with the software telco idea. Yeah,
that's great. Very excited also. And Ivan, for Vodafone, what do you want to see from the RFI?
What I want to see as a Vodafone is a lot of vendors, and we have already have been approached by a lot of vendors saying that we have already started to tweak and innovate new hardware and new software innovations that tackle all our requirements from the OpenBNG platform. And I will be more excited also to have this community being increased and allows more operators to join this community. So we have maybe more ideas, more thoughts, more business requirements, and more solutions to be put on table in front of the vendors and to serve our customers better. So this is what I'm excited to see in the near future after the RFI.
A bigger and better and faster OpenBNG community. Sounds great. And Rafael, let's finish with you.
Well, most of all, I want to see us build a sustainable ecosystem, a sustainable, healthy, and attractive for those new entrants that can get their return of investment by developing open and well-known blueprints that can cover the needs of a wide range of operators like we have here today, and hope that we get more on board. And also, I would like to see all of these vendors working together and making use of open and standards-based APIs so that we can minimize the integration costs and maximize choice. That would make it for me.
Fantastic.
And I guess that for the whole of the team.
Yeah, I see a lot of smiling faces. I think you summed it up really nicely. Fantastic, and thank you so much to you all. As everybody who's watching now can surely tell, there is a lot still to come. So before we go, I just wanted to give you some hints about what's going to be happening through the rest of the year. As we heard earlier, the technical requirements have been updated, and you can find a copy of version 2 of the technical requirement specification on the TIP website. As you also heard, there have been so many updates and we couldn't speak to them all. So we encourage you to download a copy. And if you're a TIP member, you can provide feedback on the document using the Atlassian collaboration tool. From here, the operators will be issuing an RFI for OpenBNG solutions at the end of June. And as we heard the operators speak earlier about what they're hoping to see from that RFI. We've had some great feedback and engagement from the community so far, and we're all super excited to see the solutions and the responses. After that, we'll be returning to your screens in September to announce the results of the RFI. And as Ivan highlighted us earlier, we'll also be explaining how the operators will be testing and validating the solutions, awarding tip badges, and moving towards deployments as we head into 2022. That only leaves me to thank you all for tuning in and to thank our speakers, Paul from BT, Mario from DT, Rafael from Telefonica, Rosaria from TIM, and Iman from Vodafone. Stay tuned over the next few months as we have some exciting additional content planned to be keeping you updated as the activities progress. In the meantime, we hope you found this webinar interesting and useful, and encourage you to reach out and join in if you like what you've heard today. Thank you. Bye-bye.